Big news, international news stories, as opposed to from the world of entertainment this week, is the fact that Katie Holmes filed for divorce from Tom Cruise. And this is seen as an attempt on her part to prevent her 6-year-old daughter being educated at schools with links to the Church of Scientology. Multiple sources are claiming this week. The blockbuster legal battle became public on Friday last amid disagreement between Miss Holmes and Mr. Cruise over their daughter Suri's attendance at the New Village Leadership Academy in Calabasas in California. Miss Holmes, 33, was raised as a Catholic and is reported to have concerns about Suri's religious upbringing. The academy, which the child joined in 2009, is officially secular and employs study technology, a technique created by Scientology's founder L. Ron Hubbard, as one of a range of educational methods. And some of its teaching staff are also Scientologists. Now, meet my next guest, and we have him on to tell us exactly what Scientology might be. He's Mike Garde of Dialogue Ireland, an independent trust that works to promote awareness and understanding of new religious movements and cultism in Ireland. Welcome back to the programme, Mike.
Morning to you. I was trying to work it out, but I remember, could be 20 years. Were you involved 20 years ago?
I was, yeah.
Well, yeah. I remember that the Scientologists were having bad days up here in Dublin, and one of the ways they do it is that they have to get the statistics up. So they sent people down on the train to Waterford and started giving out leaflets about free personality tests all around the States. And I remember doing a program with you, and it was some. Put it this way, it's in the last century. We won't go there.
And we're all still around.
Yeah.
Why is
and it was raining anyway.
Yeah, I know. Listen, why is Katie Holmes so concerned about the upbringing of her youngster?
The interesting thing is that you may remember your man Morton, who wrote the book on Princess Di.
Mm-hmm.
In 2008, he brought out a book on Tom Cruise. Guess what happened? It was banned. I don't know how I got it. I applied to the American Amazon and I got a copy of it. And he shows what we're really dealing with here in Scientology is the kind of Celtic tiger, the cult of celebrity, which very much is interesting that if you look at it, everybody's interested in the story today because of Katie Holmes. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for Katie Holmes, there was a massive big conference, including the Aung San Suu Kyi of Scientology, a fellow called Jerry Armstrong, who was on national media over the weekend and yesterday, who was himself the biographer of L. Ron Hubbard. And he discovered that most of the stuff that your man came up with about him being a war veteran, a graduate of Georgetown University, was all birdseed. You know, he hadn't done any of this stuff. And he wanted to get the story out. And they gradually wanted to put him off the road permanently. And he had to flee to Canada. If he opens his mouth in the United States, every time he speaks, it costs him $1,000. He's been silenced. And he was brought over to Dublin to this ex-Scientology conference at the weekend, which was put over by a group of ex-Scientologists, plus the collective called Chanology, which is part of the whole new youth culture of Anonymous, which, of course, has got all kinds of faces because, obviously, because they wear masks, they can be blamed for doing the Fine Gael website. But in the Irish context, Scientology represents control of a pyramid structure of trying to control information flow, not allowing people to speak, censorship. So you're supposed to learn how to communicate, and then they try and stop you communicating. And the advent of the Internet is meaning that since 2008, whereas I used to be struggling with this group, I'm now like on my holidays because the youth and the vibrancy of these people, every single month they come out rain and shine into Dublin to protest this Scientology group.
Okay, talk to me about the belief system, and also could you address the phenomenon that it is attractive to so many people involved in the entertainment business, apparently?
Yeah, well, we have our own particular. Ireland is not particularly well known for its Scientology members. I mean, we have Bill Shanley is the nearest we have to, the musician who plays with Mary Black, and he's also played with Eleanor McElvoy, I think, and then the Kinks. But he is an active Scientologist. But generally speaking, in Ireland, the project has been a total failure. In fact, 10 years ago, this December coming, a woman called Mary Johnson took a case, which was never, obviously there was never a judgment, so therefore there's no legal precedent, but we do know that she got a settlement from Scientology, and they had their bills were absolutely unbelievable because they've been dealing with the after effects in their accounts ever since. And so Scientology basically believes that they can, kind of deal with your kind of psychological health. In fact, L. Ron Hubbard wrote a book called Dianetics, which was kind of a bestseller, like a kind of one of these self-help books that caught on in the early 50s, just after the Second World War. And he was a science fiction writer, and he kind of got this idea, the best way to make $1 million is to start a religion. But he didn't start off as a religion because his original idea was to kind of start off this kind of therapy group. And when the American psychological people started looking at his stuff, they wanted to check him out because he was kind of basically doing medicine without a license. And then when they attacked him, then he started attacking psychiatry as being the greatest evil. And, for instance, they have these conferences and these mind, body, and spirit stuff that goes around the country, the Cork City Hall, the RDS, once a year. They would have had presentations showing how psychiatry was the greatest evil in the world and this type of stuff. And they were totally opposed to any form of psychiatric drugs. So people with mental health issues going near these places are in very great danger. But they claim to be a religion. As it happens in Ireland, they've been here. In fact, L. Ron Hubbard himself, the founder, ran a little school in the centre of Dublin in Merrion Square in the 50s. He disappeared a couple of times. He was in Bewley's once, and he was trying to help the Irish to deal with various things. He gave a kind of a spook interview to the Examiner in the 1970s, claiming he was retiring in West Cork. It was actually a kind of an ops by his intelligence people to give the impression to the Americans he wasn't in the country because they were looking for him at the time,
But, okay, adults make choices, don't they? I mean, so what, like, if people want to get involved with this kind of thing?
But if you're in a programmed environment, this isn't about religion. As I said, in Ireland, they have not got charitable status because they are not a benefit to Irish society. They're not promoting religion, they're not promoting education, and they're not relieving suffering. So they haven't got a charitable cause and effect, so that therefore Ireland hasn't recognized them for that. So just because you claim to be a religion, it's basically a totalitarian group operating a police force as a church.
The members obviously contribute huge amounts of money to the organisation.
Unfortunately, in the Irish context, that isn't the case.
Okay,
they
but
do
internationally,
have a celebrity culture in America, people like Tom Cruise, who's regarded as being the second in command to the latest leader, a fellow called David Miscavige.
And where is the attraction then for these people?
The attraction, I think, initially would be this idea of celebrity, of people like Tom Cruise. Every group, for instance, there are gurus like the Dalai Lama was taken in by a fellow in Japan who put the sarin gas, the Om cult. You remember that one in 1995 that tried to kill.
Don't actually, but anyway.
In Japan, or take John Paul II. There was a fellow called Maciel who founded a Legionaries of Christ religious order. The man was disordered. He was a sexual pervert.
Yeah.
But the Pope was taken in. That doesn't say anything about the Pope. Every one of us is liable to be taken in.
Now, when somebody tries to get out of Scientology, apparently it's rather difficult to do so.
It's extremely difficult because they will actually try to set off people onto your case. Let me give you a very clear case. In 2006, this time, 2006, 6 years ago, I was late in the evening, suddenly an email come in from a fella claiming to be a Scientology person. John Dignan was his name. Subsequently wrote a book called The Complex from Cork. He had been in the Scientology organization for 22 years. And I didn't know whether he was an operative trying to kind of a special affairs type of thing kind of coming after me. But I stuck with him, and literally we were able to assist him. He was in Birmingham at the time. He gave the impression that he was in Cork. They sent a team over to try and pick him up, and they were scanning with mobiles and everything the area around where he lived in Carrigaline. And then when they left, we got him to make a public appearance in Birmingham, and then he dumped all his stuff and he ran for the airport, came to Cork via Dublin, had to go through about 3 secret houses because he didn't know whether they were going to try and do a job on him. And so he was in a terrible state, and in 2006 he was suicidal coming out of this group, and then he was looking for that freedom. What turned him off the thing was seeing how they treated children in the organization. Women who are part of this special organization, it's like an elite force, have to have abortions. It's just criminal, the experiences that these people have. And he then has now just completed a few weeks ago his degree in UCC. He's now a free man, and he's starting his life. He wrote the book called The Complex, which relates to the headquarters in Los Angeles, where he was part of the special forces of Scientology. I mean, a church having a kind of like a secret service. It's unbelievable.
But they're not doing anything that's illegal.
Well, they definitely are doing things that are illegal. They, for instance, at the conference...
It'd be hard to prove that.
Well, there are many, many proofs of it. There are evidence of criminal activity, including L. Ron Hubbard's wife was sent to prison for breaking into the IRS, the Inland Revenue Service of the United States, in 1979. She went to prison for it. He went on the run, and many of Scientologists have been involved with very much criminal activity, including murder of people like Lisa McPherson, who was locked up because they don't believe in taking normal medical help. And they have RPF camps. These are rehabilitation camps for their members, that they're like being in a concentration camp within Scientology. These exist today, and it's an organization that is in a very, very powerful position because it had these people like Tom Cruise. He was able to get Katie Holmes. If you read the Morton book, which we couldn't get, but it's now going to presumably become available in due course, he had done a project to get another actress just a few months before, a South American actress, and exactly the same project was put into place. It wasn't just merely Tom falling in love with someone. This was a church project to get a young lady. She was a vulnerable person because she loved Tom Cruise as a little kid. She had him on the poster up on the bedroom. And so when she got the opportunity to meet him, she fell for it. But within even a very short time, her father is a very strong Catholic, and he happens to be a divorce specialist. So luckily, she's getting divorced, guess where? Not in California, where
New York.
The custody would likely be for both of them. She's going for sole custody because her child is being put into an education system, which includes, as you remember when she had a baby, where the child had to be born in silence. And she's now been educated in the ideology of Scientology as a child. Hence, she doesn't want it, and she's likely not only dealing with Cruz, because Cruz is a fanatical... I mean, he is regarded as the second in command of the Scientology organization. He is the public front, the other person that... and by the way, these people are victims. And I don't have a problem with all the Scientologists. I've been the victim of dirty tricks. For instance, when I go to schools, I've been in most of the schools in Waterford, they would send documents saying from a member of Scientology here in Ireland that I'm a member of a drugs cartel, a church which is connected to a drugs cartel. They say that I'm a former racist from South Africa and that I'm a friend, a colleague of Father Fortune because I appeared on a radio station with him. That's the thing they sent to schools to say, you shouldn't have this person in your school. Last weekend when this conference took place, it was at the Teachers Club in Dublin. And at the Teachers Club, whenever we have a conference opposing Scientology, we always brief the venue, because what immediately happens is that the Scientologists will come and say, oh, by the way, you've got a hate group coming in here, you better not put them on, and they cancel the conference because people aren't aware. We have a picture of Lady McNair, which is the wife of Lord Duncan McNair, who is a very active Scientologist. She's on the Late Late Show where Gay Byrne deals with Scientology in 1995. These issues have been in our midst, but unfortunately, because of the culture, which at the moment is throwing out Catholicism and everything that's moving, people, they lump everything together and they don't want to go there. They don't want to think about these things.
All right, we're up on time, Mike. Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Not at all. Good to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Good luck for you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That's Mike Garde of Dialogue Ireland.